Hi, I'm Charlotte.
Hi, I'm Anya.
We're both writing advisors at Occidental College.
And as this is both of our first years working at the Writing Centre, we wanted to look at how the pandemic has affected our community.
In March of 2020, Occidental College, like many other universities and colleges in the U.S., closed its physical campus in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. This was just the beginning, however, as for the entire 2020 to 2021 academic year, we have stayed in a socially distant virtual learning environment. Pre-COVID, the communal space in a writing center helped build an informal, strong community amongst writing advisors. Today we will hear from two experienced writing advisors that have worked in both the virtual and the physical settings, and 4 new writing advisors that have only worked in the virtual setting. We will hear about the sense of community that these writing advisors feel despite distance and disconnect, and how we can increase feelings of community in a completely virtual setting. So before working at the Writing Center, Anya and I didn't really know each other. And so it was kind of interesting to us that we got to build this friendship through this SoCal tutoring project. I'm in Los Angeles and Anya is in Singapore.
Because we're so far apart, we wanted to know how the virtual setting has allowed us to bridge relationships within the community.
Also wanted to see the changes that our writing center has made in going virtual and how these new changes have furthered our community.
In order to complete our podcast, we interviewed 2 older writing advisors.
My name's Emma Pottinger.
I'm Bethany Wyden.
Yeah, this is my 3rd year.
This is my 3rd year working at the Writing Center.
And 4 new first-year advisors.
My name is Esme.
So my name's Matt Chop.
My name is Alika Williams.
I'm Danny.
This is my first year working at the Writing Center.
And this is my first year as a writing advisor.
And this is my 2nd semester as a writing advisor.
I'm working in the Writing Center since this fall, so I've only worked in the remote setting.
In our interviews, we asked all of the writing advisors how their sessions have been going online.
For me, what Alika said really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Mixed emotions if nobody signs up. I've never had anybody miss an appointment with me so far. Zoom environment tends to bring out a lot of anxiety around meeting times for me personally. Mm-hmm. So, to be honest, there's a little bit of guilty relief if nobody signs up.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I do feel like I'm missing out on an experience with another peer and learning more in the Writing Center and helping out more people. It's kind of a double-edged sword in that respect.
I feel like I relate to the notion of mixed emotions. It's definitely more isolating.
Online, you literally are in your own room doing it all alone. And so I agree with Alika that it does bring out a lot of anxiety for me as well. But yeah, which I think is really interesting because I feel like in person that anxiety would be reduced because you would be surrounded by other writing advisors and other writers coming in physically seeking help.
Yeah, and I think one thing is that on a Zoom call, you have person to person, you're in your space, they're in their space. It's a lot more personal than coming to a communal space such as the Writing Center. I think the anxiety does come from that kind of isolated connection without social buffers of other writing advisors or the writing shift supervisor.
No, I completely get that. And I think because we are all in our own spaces, and I think that's something that a lot of the writing advisors had said that, it's you have all of these awkward silences and awkward pauses because it's we're looking at the same Google Doc, but are we actually looking at the same thing? We don't really know what, the person on the other side is actually looking on Zoom, that doesn't come across as clearly, it's just a little more impersonal being separated.
Yeah, and I think that kind of brings us to the point of the importance of a physical space. We have a quote from Allison Farrell and Sharon Teague Mooney and their guide for setting up a writing center.
The quote says that the location of the writing center is an important consideration. Ideally, the location will reflect the ethos of the center and will be designed around the atmosphere you wish to create and the fulfillment of the writing center's purpose. So, kind of keeping that in mind, like, could you describe the atmosphere of the Oxy Writing Center and its location?
So the Oxy Writing Center is located on the ground floor of the library, which is fantastic because that's a hub for Oxy students who are working collaboratively and individually on projects at all times of the day and night. And also, I particularly love how the Writing Center has clear walls and big windows with lots of natural light. And we also have couches. And I feel like that helps make it a very welcoming space. And particularly those windows and clear walls means that everyone who's passing by the Writing Center can see what's happening inside. And so that demystifies the Writing Center for students. And I feel like it helps them know what to expect. And they can see the positive interactions that happen there. And I feel like the space helps facilitate a collaborative environment.
Because there are so many people working on and talking about different writing projects at once. It feels very collective and very collaborative.
The only word I can think of is buzz. Like, there are people chatting, there's other advisors and students working.
I love the writing center location. It's kind of like the perfect space because it is like enclosed, but like semi-enclosed, and you can still see through it. Quite like possessive over it. And I also felt like I could still like I have taken naps on that couch. Like, I've fully been asleep at like 2 p.m.
So Bethany gave us a very vivid description. And even hearing that on the Zoom call, I don't know about you, Anya, but I felt like that was just so different from our experience so far.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that like we maybe have like a different, as in we see the writing center as the same, but we saw it going in as writers, not as writing advisors, and we haven't been there in like the other side of the table, you know what I mean? Like those chairs that were there, like we were towards the entrance, whereas they were like seeing it as people coming in, people walking by. As like I think it's very clear from Bethany and Emma's like the comfort of the writing center, like they felt so at home there. And like for me, I like that seems like a weird concept at the moment because obviously like we haven't really had time like as a writing advisor in the writing center. But I'm excited to that when we do go back, like maybe we do like see it as a second home that they consider it to be, you know?
Seeing it as like a meeting place for the writing center staff is kind of a crazy idea right now because I feel like we are all very, very individual, and we're all in our individual space.
Coupled with like the descriptions of like all the writing advisors like spaces at the moment, like where they're conducting their sessions now, like you can see that difference.
Do you think you could describe your sort of like at-home writing center? Like, where do you have your online sessions, and could you describe the atmosphere of that?
Absolutely,
Maybe?
yeah. So at home, I sit at a makeshift desk made from an industrial table in my childhood bedroom in front of my very bland white closet behind me to be my Zoom background. And so it feels a lot more isolated. I'm alone with my door closed, sitting by myself, and I definitely miss those clear walls and those interactions that I have in person at the Writing Center.
Bethany was so vivid with her descriptions of the writing center, but like when describing her at home space, it was sort of isolating, you know, like hearing about it. And like I know I'm the exact same. Like I have like a like a desk that I'm on like every day. Like I do classes there, I do my sessions there. Like it's not like a different location, you know, it's not like those are two distinguished places in my mind.
In regard to sessions, it's difficult to set up a space that relays that feeling that I have in my own personal room. Right. Yeah. So this space brings me peace and comfort, but I can't relay that to a student I'm working with because we're not sharing physical space.
Zoom is incredibly personal in that you are showing not only yourself, but the space you're in, and you're seeing the other person in the space they're in. And I know Alika talked about how that's difficult. Like it's difficult to convey the welcoming feeling that the writing center has on Zoom.
No, I think Alika was really good in describing that. Like he was talking about how he spends a lot of time to make his room like this like calm, peaceful area. But obviously, like as a writer coming in on the other side of the Zoom call, like you don't get that feeling, you know, like we only understand that through his descriptions of it, but we don't necessarily like feel it ourselves.
Yeah. Like you can make your space as calm as possible, but if you can't convey that with your own energy, then the student will not feel that sense of calm.
It's weird because obviously, you know, like our job as writing advisors is to help other writers feel empowered, and we want to do that. We want other writers to feel that, but right now doing it online, that's really difficult to convey.
So Ben Roffoff says, our society is becoming increasingly less personal on the level of language and through our daily interactions. But writing centers have a built-in mechanism to counter this trend. It is a place for collaboration, sharing, expression, and empowerment.
That quote's really important, especially when we were looking at the community of the writing center, because I think, at least for us, like the Oxy Writing Center has really been trying to emulate that. Like, you know, we've brought in a lot of new events and workshops and just to sort of try and help us empower writers even more. Like,
and I feel like we don't have that exact same thing translated virtually, but we have something similar. So virtually, I think we have a greater social media presence, which I think kind of replaces our Writing Center Wednesdays on the quad in some way in terms of like group outreach. We still present workshops. And I think we've actually developed some new activities through some creative problem solving in the online format. So like community events like the casual write-ins, and also providing asynchronous options to cater to more students. I think those are some things that have been really positive from the shift online, and I would like to see those things continued when we're back in person at some point.
We've definitely tried to continue this collaborative space, even in the virtual setting.
E-tutoring, like we never used to do that before. And I think it's been a good way to sort of connect with like other members of our community who are maybe like international or like, you know, a little more worried about coming to the writing center. And I know it's, as we spoke about, like it's a little bit more daunting doing it online. So I think having all of these other avenues that they can still sort of get help has been really, really good.
I think the social media stuff is really fun. Like, I think I'm like, why weren't we doing that earlier? Like, I think that's really cool. I love being able to be like, I don't know, post it on my story or whatever, and feel like I can like redirect random people to our site.
I think everyone has been talking about the social media and how our Instagram has been really good at connecting our writing center to the external like Oxy community.
Another thing we've been doing with the social media is having writing advisors do an Instagram takeover for the day. And I think it's a way to kind of show students that we are also students living the same like college life as them, not really knowing what we're doing, eating in class, doing all this like normal stuff. And I think throughout these like takeovers and our trivia polls and different posts, we've just kind of added a bit of fun to the writing center and tried to portray it as what it is, which is like a fun collaborative space. So I feel like that is such a good addition that we've made to the writing center.
I also think it's interesting though that like, you know, we have been able to really replace some of the things that connected the writing center with the outer Oxy community, but I think that it has definitely been a little bit more difficult to replace or reflect the ways that the writing advisors felt close to one another. How connected do you feel with other writing advisors? So I know we obviously have our 395 class that like allows us like with some interaction, but do you know any of the new writing advisors well?
I know River and Esme pretty well. And then I know a few other writing advisors just through social interaction. So like I knew Femke going in, and then Bethany's senior writing advisor, she's a history major. And so she actually helped me with a research proposal for this summer because we had applied for the same summer research program. I wouldn't say that I know that many writing advisors too well, but I'd say I've gotten to know a few throughout 395, and then like that interaction I was describing with Bethany.
Like Gwen was someone I got to know pretty well because she would also come in for my advising sessions, which was really fun. She would come in for her journalism class and we would work together, and that would be super fun. And it was really nice because, you know, even if nobody else came in, we would just talk about like our lives and, you know, what's going on. And also, it's been really great to work with my conference group because we, you know, set a specific time, like schedule a specific time we want to talk, and we always go over just like cracking jokes and making light of the situation. So I feel like there is some semblance of a community, even though the community is in a different format than it was pre-COVID.
Esme talked about how the recent adaptations that our writing center has made have actually like increased the potential to feel close to other advisors. And I know she talks about her friendship with Gwen. And
I think we were speaking about this a couple of days ago, that we actually haven't really like hung out in person, you know, like all of our like conversations have been online, but yet like we were still able to sort of foster this like friendship and like, you know, add to our sort of writing community. And even just doing these interviews has also like brought us like closer to other writing advisors. Like I think that that is something that's really been lacking for us.
Some of the kind of older writing advisors, ones who've been working in the writing center, a lot of them have, you know, throughout the semester been reaching out through Instagram and texting to check in, to ask how my writing sessions have been, how it's felt to be a writing advisor. That's by virtue of their willingness to reach out and their valuing of the community, which I really appreciate. But I do think that in the absence of either the willingness of more experienced writing advisors to reach out and like the formalized class to get to know other advisors, it would have been very difficult to do so. So I'm grateful that we have those kind of built into the curriculum and work for writing advisors.
The older writing advisors have definitely made an effort to reach out to us. And I really appreciate that. Through these interviews, I feel like understanding more about their experience, I feel like I know more about what our job is and what like the purpose of the writing center is in their eyes, and like how that community was and how it is and how it will be in the future.
Yeah, I think it's also like, obviously we do in our like class, right, we do a lot of readings about the role of the writing center and how, you know, we are there to help empower students and help them with their writing, and right, learning about it through like actual discussions of writing advisors who have experienced it, like I think gave us a really new perspective. Like it's not only bridging the, you know, the writing, like not only building on the writing of writers, but also on relationships between the writing advisors. And it's empowering for us, like for one another, you know, like we help others with their sessions and we can help others with like, you know, just feeling more at home at Oxy and at the writing center. Like I think it's interesting that they really provided us a new perspective.
What advice would you give to younger writing advisors to develop the sense of community despite being online, and then possibly when we're back in person?
Yeah, I mean, I would say go use the writing center. I didn't do that for like my whole sophomore year, I think, and I only really did it in junior year. It's really like interesting to see how other people respond and like what they think of. And it kind of humbles you a little bit also. You find ways to bond with each other, and that can like include writing. Don't be afraid to be like, I'll come to your shift and we can Zoom.
My advice would probably be more for faculty, but I think more interaction between the writing advisors overall. That's not such organized space. But it would have been nice to just have like however much time every once in a while where it's just the writing advisors and we can talk amongst each other, and it doesn't have to feel like such structured or
supervised as well.
Exactly, yeah, because I would have loved to talk with the other 395 students, like the other first time writing advisors.
Yeah,
because I think we can learn so much from each other. That sense of community is so important, and we never got that. So Exactly. Like, it would have been so nice
Yeah.
to talk to more of you guys as friends instead of
Yeah.
like colleagues or classmates,
Mhm.
like outside of that environment.
Yeah, I think the main gist is everything seems sort of really structured at the moment, and we need to just have more of a like more opportunities to maybe just as writing advisors, just without the like context of being in a class having a discussion, like just talk as if we would when if we were like 2 feet away from each other. You know what I mean? Like,
I can definitely take some more steps to get to know my other writing advisors and use the resources that the Writing Center already provides and that we, participate in. Like whether that's like working together on a presentation or visiting a class and talking about the Writing Center with another advisor. I think any of those opportunities can help us build community amongst ourselves. And then therefore like improve how we are able to operate in our job and how we can like communicate about our own personal progress as advisors.
I think given the cards we were dealt, we've done a pretty good job of maintaining some sense of community because as we move online, everything feels so transactional. It's very like face value, like interactions are very face value. So projects like this where we're interviewing each other, those all helped contribute to a sense of community for me. But it is certainly lacking the sense of shared space that comes with being in person.
The Writing Center community has stayed strong for the most part and overcome a lot of barriers. And I think as we continue in this virtual community, we are really making progress in how we cater ourselves towards students and how we approach writing in general.
we've obviously said the social media has come about, but even like these workshops and stuff, like having them recorded, like having like giving up like the people the opportunity to watch them afterwards, like it's probably something we weren't really doing beforehand, and it's allowed us to look at ways that we can strengthen our in-person community as well by having to sort of adapt to the online environment. So I think in many ways, obviously it's been very hard for us to replicate the community of the Writing Center, and looking at it in the other lens, like it's also benefited the Writing Center greatly and like helped us create this community in different ways and new and more, like you said, more fun ways and ways we hadn't really thought of beforehand. So yeah, I think this podcast and these interviews really helped us as well, like see that.
I'm really grateful that we got this opportunity to, spend a lot of concentrated time together across like thousands of miles. Yeah, and I mean, now when we're sitting 2 tables apart in the Writing Center, I don't know, it's gonna be so exciting.
I know. I'm really very much looking forward to it. So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
We would like to thank and acknowledge Danny Cook, Alika Williams, Esme Epstein, Matt Chop, Emma Pottinger, Bethany Wyden, Professor Charlene Sarmiento, Professor Julie Preble, and everyone at the Occidental Writing Center. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed.